Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. My name's Rob Nelson. I used to have a talk show on Fox, a show on Fox News. But news in America is so produced. I don't care if you think it's left, right, center, fake. You passed tougher legislation to deal with the paparazzi after what happened with you and your family.
I think it's very important that we focus on rebuilding.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Nelson and this is Rob Nelson Live. I'm shooting out here in California. You're wherever you are watching. I've got my supernatural blue background on because we are talking supernatural today. I have always been fascinated by anything paranormal, and particularly by anything involving psychics, mediums, whether it's, communicating with people who aren't any longer in this life, or whether it's seeing the future. There's so much we don't know about the paranormal. And I think of it this way. C.S. Lewis, who was the guy who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, was also a philosopher and wrote a book in which he was trying to prove the scientific basis for God. And he said, I only know one person who saw a ghost in their life, and that person doesn't believe in ghosts. And his point was, what we think and believe has nothing to do with what's real. Everyone in the world could believe in God, but if God didn't exist, our belief wouldn't change it. And no one could believe in God. Every single human being could believe there's no God. And if there was a God, there was. Like the reality, the facts, the objective reality is what it is. So you may believe in psychic and paranormal things. You may believe people can communicate with the afterlife. You may believe people can see the future, or there are psychics. You may believe all kinds of paranormal, supernatural things, and they may not be true. On the other hand, you may be a total disbeliever and think it's all a bunch of BS. It's all made up. It's all fake. Nobody can do that. Once people are dead, they're gone. Nobody can communicate with them. There's no mediums who can go in between. There's no clairvoyance. There's no psychics. But the reality is, if it's true, it's true. We're never going to know the ultimate answer, but it's an awesome exploration. And especially now when we're living so sunk down in the coronavirus life, wouldn't it be fun to just kind of reach into another life for a minute? That's what we're doing today on Rob Nelson Live. I have an incredibly cool guest. His name is Jonathan Mark. He is a medium, Jonathan Mark Medium. And we're going to talk about clairvoyance, mediums, psychics, and the paranormal. Jonathan, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, you heard my little setup there, right?
Yes.
I'm a big believer that, like I said, I believe in all kinds of paranormal, and I call it paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want, things that are not part of our typical normal. And yet I'm sure you've encountered your whole life. And I want to get into a little your backstory, but your whole life, and just so people know, Jonathan is, first of all, Jonathan, you don't look like your typical medium. I mean, you look like you're like a rapper, to be honest. You're like Eminem, the next generation,
Yeah, I get that quite often. I definitely get the, people see me and they're like, wait a minute, like, whoa, like they get very thrown off. I typically get the surfer, the skater boy, like all that, because that's what I do. I surf, I'm a snowboarder. So like, I kind of dress like that when I go to client meetings, all this stuff. And people just like, what the heck is this? Yeah, I get that literally all the time. That's very, very funny.
But you are a medium. And just to kind of brag about you for a minute, and again, I want to get your story of where it started, but sure. You kind of got well known because you started to read a lot of well-known celebrities and people. You were on The Housewives, you were on The Hills. And I think, the way the celebrity world works, it's like, go to my trainer, go to my chef. It's like, go to my psychic, go to my medium, right?
Yeah.
You like just brag a little so people get a sense like, it's not like you're just like got a shop set up on the corner that says, come on in for a reading. You've read some pretty famous people.
Yeah, I've read people that are famous actors, to singers, to models, to politicians, to anything. And these are all really well-known people. And I've read professional athletes that are in the MLB, NFL, UFC. So I read basically all different types of people. I really like to read people that are really, suffering and like, all that. But I also like to read people that don't really, I guess, necessarily believe in this 100%, because then it gives me an opportunity to kind of show them that, and it's not stuff because like, everyone always says you can Google the celebrity, you can Google this person. And that's why I kind of like reading them, because I pull in stuff that you just can't Google. And then I guess it just gets them like, what the heck is going on? And then they kind of, start, spreading the word to mouth, because I never asked them to spread it. I never asked them to post. I never asked them to do anything, because I feel like there's a fine line with this, with like privacy stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Can you say names of people you've read or not?
Yeah. I could say.
Do a little name dropping. Just again, I hate that celebrity matters, but the reality is, I feel like, I've had met and known and worked with a lot of celebrities in my life, and the truth of the matter is, when you mention a celebrity's name, people look at it differently. I don't know why that is. They're just people like us, but at the same time, when we sort of feel like, well, if they're doing it, like they could pick anyone they want to read them. They can get any chef they want. They can go anywhere they want. So it's like, if they're picking you, you must be doing something right. So
so I've read like Robbie Amell, who just had the show Upload, and he's just doing a bunch of stuff, to like Audrina Patridge from The Hills, Heidi and Spencer from The Hills, David Winfield, the famous baseball player, to people that are Robert Smith, the African-American billionaire, people to JoJo the singer, to it's like a bunch of fashion people like Jose, Oswald Boateng. I had a whole list, like all the housewives from New Jersey, OC, to Atlanta, to. It's so funny because when people ask me, I have to think back, and I'm like, crap, that's right. I'm like, which person?
Listen,
Olympian.
Let me jump for a second.
Sure.
This is a theory I have. So you mentioned Robbie Amell from Upload.
Yeah.
I just watched Upload.
Me too. And I just finished.
I was and I'd recommend everybody watch it. I was fascinated by it. It was such a satire on our society, but it was also kind of a really cool exploration about consciousness.
It was.
And I've always had this thing where, and I told you, Jonathan, on the phone, I definitely have certain paranormal abilities, and people who know me well know it. I have an ability to see things like a little before they happen, literally as they will happen. And it's not something you could make up. Like I can get glimpses of 60 seconds in the future, and I see it like a picture in my head, and it happens just that way. I also am pretty much of a true empath and feel a lot. And I actually have felt people through screens and felt personalities and types of a person through watching them on a film, and actually found it to be true because I met them later in life and became friends with them, and was like, wow, when I watched you, I felt certain things. And it fascinated me that I could watch it through the lens of a camera. And when I watched him in that, it's funny you mentioned him. There was something about him that really caught me. I was like, not just as an actor, but there was something that he emoted, a kind of an almost like an empathetic sensitivity that really came through. And I was like, that's not just his character. I'm like, I was like, I wonder if I met him, would he be like that? So when you just say you read him, just on a personal level, I'm suddenly fascinated because I totally have a feeling about him. Yeah,
he's honestly one of the nicest and best people I have ever met. And we developed a friendship from this after. Like I read him, and then I guess some time went by, and then we had to go to this event in Dodger Stadium and whatever. And I didn't know he was going to be there. And I'm walking and I'm talking with someone, and all of a sudden someone behind me bear hugs me, like lifts me up and like squeezes me, like to like hug me. And I turn around and it was him. And I'm just telling you from like personal experience, he is one of the nicest, greatest people ever. And it's interesting, right? Because to me, hearing you say that, because the character, for those who haven't watched Upload, he plays a jerk. I mean, by the end, he softens up, but he's the most superficial, narcissistic. I mean, he's not an evil person. No, completely. And even as I watched that in the beginning, I was like, I got this feeling that's not who that guy is. And I don't think, same way I've often said with actors, like you can't hide your core chemistry. If you're a gay actor, it's very hard to have chemistry with women. Some can try to pull it off, but it's weird. Like who you are comes through at core, like, our sexuality, our humanity, our emotional state. So I find that fascinating as a test right there of how we can reach and connect. Yeah. It was really cool because during the reading, I have to be honest, I'm not really, I was never really big into like the celebrity stuff, even before I went out to like Hollywood to do all this like stuff with like TV and whatever. And when he came in for like the reading, I literally thought I'm going to be honest with you. I thought he was a model. I thought he was just like, an LA model, if that makes sense, like an LA pretty boy. Like that's literally what I thought he was. And so when I sit down and I'm reading him, I'm telling you, like, this guy has a heart of gold. Like, he cares about his friends, his family, everybody, and he would do anything for them. He's an amazing person.
And when you read someone, are you reading them and the world? I hate to call it the afterlife, right?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
Mediums, essentially, the idea of a medium, right, is that you somehow can bridge between this experience and another experience, right?
Yeah, so it's basically like just communicating with I always call it just like energy. Like, it's not like when you read someone you see, like, it's not like when I read someone I see a ghost, right? It's not like that. It's like it's energy and it just like never dies and stuff like that. So it's just like that's what it is. But like when you read someone, you can, like you said, like, you'd be like an empath or whatever, you can feel them, and he truly has such genuine types of like feelings and stuff.
What do you see when you read someone? Do you like if you're do you see dead people?
No, and I have to be honest with you. yeah. Like I definitely have to be honest with you. Like when people claim that they actually see people when they read, like it's not necessarily true, because what happens is when you read and you can ask, like, and I'm friends with like, all the memes that are on TV and stuff, and we all talk obviously, and it's all virtually the same. It's basically images that you see. So it's like a new language that you can just see and you have to interpret it. So like, when you first start reading, or when I first started reading, it was like playing Pictionary. I would see images and I would have to interpret it and deliver it like applicable to whoever I'm like reading. So if it's someone coming through like a scar on their face, or like their ear was like ripped off, like you'll see that in your head, but you won't see them. And if someone claims that they see them, like, I don't know how true that is. Like when they're reading someone, like I know sometimes people when they're sleeping and they just wake up and like, holy crap, I just saw someone, like, that's true, but like they're gone in a half a second. You don't physically see them. But when someone just like sits there and claims that they can physically see someone when they read, like I personally just don't know how true that is, because I haven't heard that.
And when I'm sure you get skeptics all the time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are skeptical, and I get it. It's not something we can sign. It's like I said, the thing about God. I mean, lots of people believe in God, but you can't prove God. I mean, nobody.
Right.
I believe in a God, but I can't prove it. Like I can't actually. And people say, no, I can prove it. I felt it in my life. Well, that's not proving anything. That's just your belief, right? I can't actually empirically point and go, "There's God."
Right.
Like, What do you say when people? How do you kind of get around that to the thing? If I'm a skeptic and I go, I don't know, maybe you just think you're seeing things. You just think you're seeing stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like when people, like, I guess, come to me, and most of the time they'll start off by saying that, and then I kind of laugh because I'm like, you waited 6 months to see me, to tell me this, and to have a reading, like that doesn't really make sense. But I always say, just like sit down and just let me read you, and then if you feel like that after, that's on you, type of thing. But like how I try to prove it is like bring up validation. Like I'm very big into validation and being extremely specific per like the person. Like I try to bring up things that people wouldn't really know about them. Like you can Google, go on their Facebook, their socials, their LinkedIn, or whatever. There's this stuff that like there's family, personal issues that they don't speak about. Like there's personal stuff. Like that's kind of what I try to bring up. And the funny part about it is like when I do that, like, people, I guess, get super thrown off because I do look extremely young. I don't look my age. I look very, very young. And they get thrown off when this little kid is telling them something that's extremely personal that nobody knows. Their face turns white like a ghost. And they're like, what the heck, Right. So that's kind of what I try to do. And like with the skeptics, it's funny because I obviously have them. But since I've been doing a lot of celebrity stuff and TV stuff, it has lessened. It's like I proved myself like by doing that, which is like the weirdest thing, because like that's not like how I feel like I prove myself. Like I prove myself by many things, many different things that I've done. But that's what the society kind of proves you on, I guess, now. So
the skeptic in me is a skeptic in that, well, I like to prove everything. And although as I said, I have my own paranormal experiences that I can't explain, things that will make no sense to me in a rational way. And I also have, certain gifts and abilities. That said, I'm constantly trying to get a rationalization. And I struggle with the idea that we don't die. Like in my head, I hate it, but I feel like we die when this is all over. We're dead, gone, bye-bye. Right. And when someone says, well, I can pick up the consciousness of a person who's no longer here, I go, are you maybe just picking up their thoughts from when they were here? Like their thoughts are out there in the universe, which is still a paranormal ability, but the same way you could read my mind and know something I knew about my grandfather, and I could go, only I knew that. Well, you could be actually reading my mind. Now, again, that's still paranormal if you can know what's going on outside of this. But are you sure you're actually communicating with people who are no longer in this life?
I'm going to say yes, only because like some of the stuff like they don't even know. So like there's times where I've read people where they didn't even know this information about their loved one until they went home and spoke to their family, and they're like, how did this kid know that? Like that's not something like we would tell you, that's not something we would speak about. Now sometimes when you read, you obviously pick up things that are currently going on in someone's life, because like, you know, people always wonder, am I going to do well work? How's my health? How's this? So you kind of pull in like that stuff too, because you want to validate that they're around you, watching you, hearing your thoughts, whatever you want to call it. But what I try to do is it's like something a little different. I just try to go specifically like to stuff that like regards to them and their life, whether you knew it or not, and you have to validate within your family. Like that's kind of like what I do. And I know some people like that, a majority do, but a majority actually, and like the other half actually really likes when you speak about them and the stuff that's going on in their life and the stuff like in the future and stuff like that. And you know, I always try to tell people this, like, you know, you should live your life every day kind of not knowing what's going to happen, because to tell someone to have like a psychic ability and all that, like it's definitely true. And, you know, but you have free will to kind of do whatever you want. So if I tell you something and I tell you, you know, go right, and then one day that road is blocked and then you go left, you just changed your destiny. You changed your fate because life happened. So like, that's kind of what it is. I just really try to focus on things that like really regard like the person's family, them and their relationship, and try to validate it and stuff.
So let me ask you, I had an experience happen to me years ago, and I'd love to just get your quick take on it.
Sure.
I was climbing a wall, free climbing a wall in Northern California. Okay. By the ocean. So I wasn't using ropes, right? I was climbing the rock wall, and I should have used ropes, but I was stupid and young and careless and whatever. And
Seems fun.
I got about 120 feet up and realized, like, you know, if I slip, I'm dead. Like there, you know, it's almost a vertical fall down.
Right.
And I saw a path to get to the top. I sort of mapped out a path, and it involved grabbing this big ledge and using that to get up and around, and then stepping on the ledge and going up. And I felt really comfortable emotionally, really satisfied that now I had a way to the top that was quick. And right as I reached for the ledge, so I'm really confident inside about what I'm doing. I'm not scared. I'm scared if I don't get up, but not scared about what I'm about to do. Right as I reached for the ledge, I heard loud flapping behind me and saw a dark shadow pass over my head, which I thought was a bird, like a hawk or an eagle flying behind me. And I froze, turned around. The sky was blue. There were no clouds. There were no birds. I turned back around and I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm not going to do what I was about to do. I didn't grab the ledge. I climbed all the way around it, which literally I kept laughing to myself. I'm going to fall off this cliff because I'm superstitious. I didn't take the safest path. I got above it, put my foot down on the ledge, and the entire ledge came off the cliff, like this 60-pound chunk of rock.
Oh my God.
Tumbling up, which would have been in my hand on my head.
Right.
And I've often wondered, what happened to me? Did I see an angel of death? Did I see an angel warning me? I had no fear. I had no sense of anxiety. What could communicate with me to tell me don't do that wasn't coming from me?
It's probably someone that has passed away in your life that's coming through to kind of like, and a perfect example is kind of that, like it's more or less like a sign like that, and kind of like a gut feeling. Like I always tell people this, like, because when they ask me, it's like, you know, they try to give you these gut feelings or like these signs where you hear a bird and you're like, maybe I shouldn't go that way, or maybe I shouldn't do that. People sometimes like you know, people think sometimes that like your loved ones are going to come through and move a bullet that's coming at you or a car, and that's not necessarily how it goes. So, you know, I always say like that stuff is from people that have, you know, passed on, that's within your family, that's trying to protect you. That's really what it is. And, you know, I've had experiences, and I would say a lot of people have with that. And like, that's just trying to open up people to be like, wow, like that was weird. Like if it wasn't for that, that's weird. And you could, and like, I would say more so than not, people have some type of experience like that from what I've realized, like more so than not.
What for you is the biggest, or what was one of the biggest, or maybe it was when you were young? I'm guessing I think you mentioned me. This started for you when we were very young, right? Like
yeah,
you started
very.
seeing things.
Yeah, very, very young. When I would say probably, and like, it's funny because like, you know, as I'm going on with this stuff and like, you know, being interviewed by like big people and stuff, like I start to find out more and more about, I'm like, wow, like this really started at a very young age because they're interviewing my family and stuff now. And I just found out like, you know, it started when I was about three or four, I want to say, probably around that. And, you know, my aunt passed away when I was 6 months old. So I never really got to have a relationship with her more so than like people in my family. But, you know, my family still loves her, and we talk about her when I was young. There's pictures of her. It was my mom's best friend. It was her sister. So I obviously heard stories. So I would like, you know, see her. So it wasn't like I wasn't like not like in my house, but there was times where when I was young, probably around 4 or 5, I think it was Easter. I want to say it was around like the April time from what I, you know, hear. And there was a group of my family just like sitting, probably having a drink and talking, whatever. And I guess I walked up to them and I tapped my mom on the shoulder and I said, Mom, and her name was Susan. So when I say my Aunt Sue, just so you know, I'll say Aunt Sue wants me to tell you thank you for burying her in your jean jacket. She's very comfortable and she's very happy. And my mom my mom told me, she said she never got more confused because like she's like, that's not something she told me. I was only 4. That's not something that, you know, she spoke about because that was really personal to her. That was something that like I guess was an inside joke about, you know, my Aunt Sue would steal my mom's jean jacket all the time. And it would just be something like that. So my mom, I guess last minute put her in the jean jacket. So my mom's like, that's crazy weird. And then when I was about 7 or 8, I live on Long Island. That's where I grew up. And in my backyard, it's kind of like a woodsy area. There's like houses that surround a woods area. And we had a swing set towards the back of the woods, like where like the backyard would meet the woods. And I was pushing swing set and no one was on it. So my mom immediately thought, since I was a young kid, that I had an imaginary friend. So she's like, you know, like, who is this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I kept saying Anthony, and I kept saying he was fat. And my mom was like, I was a little confused because you were very adamant about like what he was. So we moved into the house, and I guess the people that owned the house prior came to pick up, I guess, leftover like mail or stuff that was like coming to the house. And my mom's like, this weird question, like, you know, I don't know if you know this, but has anyone passed away in our like around the house or in the house? Like, you know, my son. And he goes, yeah, my son Anthony passed away in the backyard. He got stung by in-ground bees, and his organs swelled up, and he passed away. He was very allergic to it, from what like now I understand from it. So then my mom kind of got freaked out, as I did. And, you know, I kind of stopped speaking about it. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to go to school, you know, play sports. I wanted, you know, to be like as normal as I can. So I kind of kept it quiet. And then I was going off to college, and I asked my mom if there's any mental illness in the family. I thought I was schizophrenic. I really didn't know. And my mom's like, it's weird because I'm going to see a medium. Do you want me to ask? Now, when I was 18, 19, when I was going, I didn't know what a medium was. So I thought it was someone with like long nails, spooky type of stuff. And she went, and the person's like, he could be crazy. You have to bring him in. So I went in, saw her. She's like, he's very talented. She helped me. And then I started, you know, kind of, my mom would bring in friends, and then all that stuff. And then friends I never met, then work associates, and it kind of grew. And then I started reading, you know, celebrities and stuff.
Is it, Jonathan, is it, you said you wanted to be normal as a kid. Yeah. I mean, think you can be normal? I mean, be honest. Like, is it, I mean, do you wake up and like, I have this beautiful, joyous gift I can share? Or is it like heavy and burdensome? Or is it both? I mean, do you cry? Yeah. Do you cry about it? Do you feel overwhelmed by it? Does it get dark, or is it all bright light and, you know?
Yeah. So I think this is a gift, and I think this is a blessing, but it definitely comes with a lot of heavy stuff. Like, you know, you're telling people really personal stuff. Like, what I started doing this when I was 21, when I started reading people, and, you know, to tell someone that, you know, their father raped you or whatever at a very young age, and you have to deliver messages like that, it's tough. And there's definitely some dark times, because it's like, people don't understand this. They all think this is light, and it is amazing, and I would never change this. But it's like I'm talking about death and really serious things every single day. Like every day I'm talking about someone who passed away, and more so than not, a lot of families have a lot of stuff that happened in their lives that isn't all nice. And I have to bring that up for validation purposes, because like I have to bring that up. I have to share like something that no one would know. And it does get a little heavy, but like I've learned like outlets for me. Like, I'll go for a run every day just because I need to like get away. I'll go surfing. I need to remove myself sometimes, because it does get a little heavy. But like, again, I would never change this. At first I was embarrassed because like I didn't know what people would say, but then my friend John Edwards and people like, they kind of paved the way to make this a little bit more socially acceptable. And it's very much socially acceptable now than it ever was before. But
I think especially people, I think in hard times, obviously people look to, people have always looked to the beyond as a way to make sense of the world. It's in our nature to want to feel like there's something. We don't want this to be it, and we want to be able to connect and reach past it. But that also is why I often wonder, Jonathan, if people like want to hear good news, like want to hear good things. And you're saying sometimes you tell them really bad things. Yeah.
So like you
tell people really bad things?
Like bad things, I guess, things that happened in their life. Like, like when people ask me if someone's going to die and stuff, like even I can see that. It's like, why would I can. Yeah, I can. It's just like, why would I want to see that? Like, I don't want to deliver that someone's going to die. And I don't want to be the person that like I want someone to always fight. Like, I don't want someone to be like, well, this is going bad. He even said this, validated some crazy crap about it. I'm just going to throw in the towel. Like, that's not how it should be. It should be, you should fight until the very last minute, until you can't anymore. And like, sometimes people don't want that. And I just won't tell them, because it's not my place to be God's keeper or whatever you want to call it.
But you do actually sometimes see those things.
Yeah. I mean, like,
you don't necessarily tell the person, but you're saying you choose to see it. You actually do sometimes see it. Like, you might see something really bad and you just go, I'm not going to share that.
Like, it really depends. Like, it depends. Like, if the person, has stage 4 cancer, a lot of them come to me, and like, or family members come to me and they want to know when they're going to die. It's like, I'm not going to tell you that, because like, I don't want you to give them a time frame in their head so they can check out. But when I do see like medical stuff that comes up that's like super relevant to them, that they need to go now, then I will tell them, because I have saved a lot of lives from that.
I think what I'm asking is, you may not tell them, but have you seen it? Have you seen when someone's going to die? Like, you may not say, but you actually see it, and you end up being right. You just don't share.
Unfortunately, it's a very unfortunate thing, but I have been a lot of times.
That's hard. I think that would be hard to carry.
It's the hardest thing. And that's why, like, when I read people that have like this, that's going to happen, I spend like an extra hour with them. I'll spend extra time to really like make people feel at ease as best as I can, to make them like want to tell them to continue to keep kicking ass and to keep fighting. Because if I don't do that, and I'm just like, like this person's going to die, XYZ, like most of the time people are gonna just be like, all right, let's throw in the towel, or let me do this. And like, that's just not my thing. So like, I want to give people a reason to fight. So that's why I do that.
And do you feel right now like we want this more than ever? We want I mean, look, I said I don't believe in an afterlife, and I want to believe in an afterlife more than anything. Like, for me, like, I want someone to convince me there's an afterlife. I'm like, please be one, like, you could say, well, just believe it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't. Like, do you get that? Does that make sense to you? Like, there's a skepticism in some of us that seeks faith at the same time. And yet you have a whole world that probably wants to see this right now more than ever, because we're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's always going to be people that have some type of skepticism towards this, but like, what I always try to tell people with this is like, you can just sit down with me for about 15-20 minutes and just like let me try and show you, and if you still feel that way, it's fine. Like that's the only thing. I can't just sit here and try to convince someone. I just want them to experience it for themselves and come up with their own opinion through my experience.
And Jonathan, by the way, when I say that, I'm not saying I disbelieve you have gifts or abilities, right?
Yeah,
and acknowledging I know I have some, and I truly believe you have a gift and an ability to do something that's outside of what we consider. I call it paranormal only because it's outside of what we consider the accepted normal, right?
Yeah.
And, whatever that gift is, it's a gift,
It
and
is.
And you have a sensitivity. I felt it when I first talked to you. You can feel that you have a sensitivity and an authenticity that's real. And I'm sure you're pretty empathetic, pretty much an empath in many ways too. So I connect to that.
Yeah.
And so I could talk about this forever with you. But I asked you at the beginning, is it okay to? I don't necessarily want to say to read me to look at me if I asked you about someone or something. Could we do that for a minute? I know you're tired. I know you've done a bunch of readings for a digital platform that you're looking into.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing this as a test. I'm more doing this because I kind of want to know,
Yeah.
So is the way I would do this, if there's someone in particular that in my life who died that I want to know if you see anything about them, is that the way to do it?
I mean, most people don't really say anything to me because I don't want it. I just kind of tell people just to give me like a yes or a no, or an explanation after I say something to them, not something like obviously before. I mean, like I can do that for you. I'll do very quickly, obviously. But just so you know, when I read, I don't look at people because it's just weird if I stared at someone for when I read, because I would feel that's extremely weird. And also I like to blank out my mind, and I don't like to go off people's reactions. So I don't really look at people when I read for those reasons. So
should we do this by having me be on the screen by myself, or you be on the screen by yourself? You be on the screen by yourself.
Well, I guess it would probably. I mean, I'm just gonna look above you, so like you could stay on. I'm just looking at the what you see the wall behind me. It's right in front of me. So that's.
And is it okay if I tell you someone, simply because that's actually what I'm curious about? There's a person in my life who's gone that I wish desperately to, touch.
You can. I mean, like I typically will just pull in people and just like see who steps forward first. So I could do that for you too. But you could do that. But like most of the time people don't. I just kind of sit down and say, just let me pull in who wants to come forward. So
okay, go ahead.
All right. I have to ask you this. Unfortunately, it seems like you've seen a lot of death in your life, which sucks. I have as well. I'm not the same age, obviously. I'm a little bit younger, but there's a difference to me between blood relative and someone who you just consider extremely close, that you can consider blood, or someone who's very close. The reason why I'm saying that to you is because it looks like there's someone that I guess either you're friends with or someone that you consider family that's, I guess, relative around your age. Yes, you have. I see a grandparent. I obviously see all that. What I really see is someone that should still be here today. When I say still be here today, I am not talking about someone who's 94, who's 84 that should still be here today, because let's face it, that's kind of a long life. This is someone who should still literally be walking this earth today. The reason why I'm saying that, because this seems fairly tragic. I'm not going to really like lie to you about it. And the reason why I'm saying that, because they're putting their hand on your shoulder and they're kind of insinuating to me that you guys had this closeness in a very, like, whether it's intimate or not, I don't know. It just seems very close, like really, really close. It seems extremely tragic. It seems kind of like, the reason I'm saying that to you is because when they tap themselves and they go like this to me, is sometimes people take ownership for their passing. That's the best way I can kind of put it in a simple phrase. When they take ownership for their passing, it's more so a very tragic passing. A very, very tragic passing. But the thing that's even a little bit more strange is, like, I don't know if this person, it looks like you were either supposed to see this person the like that day, that night, or you just saw them the day before. It just looks like this relationship with you was very personal, very intimate, and it just seems. I have to ask you this: when this person passed away, whose birthday, whose whatever was like very close to this, like two dates that are weirdly close to this, like a couple weeks apart, maybe. And what's also really interesting too is to keep tapping this month, saying if this month is someone's either birthday or anniversary within this month in May. So they keep seeing that over and over again. What they're also doing to me too is they keep going to me and they keep pointing at me saying there's a J name either surrounding them, that's their name, or someone that's very important in their lives that has a J name. But what's also interesting too is you have someone with this, it looks like either you're named after someone or someone in your family is named after someone within there, because they keep someone with a very similar name to you or a very similar name within your family keep stepping forward. Also too, going back to this person is that like they keep putting music notes. I love music. I'm sure you love music. We all love music. This has nothing to do with that. This has something to do with where either this person was like a musician, this person loved, like played an instrument, this person with music, where there's something very important with it. There's something important with the music that's very, very big for them. And it also seems like they keep taking a car and they keep traveling. Now, I like to travel. I'm sure majority of people like to travel. This person seems like someone who likes to be on the move quite often. Also, too, they keep throwing shamrocks at me. So it's either this person is extremely Irish or there's something around St. Patrick's Day that's extremely important to this person.
Wow. Well, thank you, by the way. So here's what I would say to all that. First of all, yes. It's the most interesting thing you said to me is right away saying you've experienced a lot of death in your life. And anybody who knows me, and you don't know this because I've never told you it, I have experienced death my entire life from a very early age. From when I was 8, my brother died in front of me, to my best friend died after college. My father died right after college, very suddenly.
You have a lot.
I've had my mother died, my other brother. I've had literally throughout my life, I've had death constantly. The person, and I don't know how much of what you're saying. I do know this. When you said the person and the J is my brother and John, and my brother John committed suicide. And
that's why I said to you, he was taking ownership for his death.
Right. And that's who I was actually going to ask you about.
Yeah, you just he just
suicide, and it's not that I was supposed to see him soon, although I would have when I came back to Wisconsin. I was going to call him.
I'm just kind of I was just going very quickly just because
no.
of this, yeah.
And I'm just trying to validate what you're saying that does make sense.
Thanks.
He was he was a biker, and he was a bit of a, he loved to travel. He loved to bike around the country. That was his thing. He was not a nomad, but kind of nomadic in that way.
Yeah.
His death was really sudden, really tragic. I started to tear up in the beginning when I asked about it because, it was hard. I mean, I lost my brother to suicide, and it was sudden, and, he never got a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about him. I don't know about the May stuff, the dates. I don't know, but I do know, I do know, my brother John committed suicide in a tragic, violent, shot himself.
I'm not going to air that out on here for you. That's your personal stuff. That's why I kind of said he's taking ownership for his death. When I do stuff like this and this comes up for certain people, I'm not going to be the person to air that out. That's why I try to phrase it in the most nice, sensitive type of way possible.
Could you see that it was violent?
I could see that it was aggressive, if that's the right word to use. Yeah. I could see that it was a very impulsive, aggressive move.
Yeah. No, what?
Yeah, I don't want to call it violent just because, your brother seems to, him coming through, he seems, the word I want to use is a happy person, or he was a happy person. I'm sure we all had our issues and stuff, but overall he seemed like a pretty good person. That's why I don't want to call it violent. That's why I just want to call it aggressive and impulsive, because he doesn't seem like a bad person.
No, he was a beautiful person, actually.
Yeah.
He had a beautiful soul. He was a really kind, incredibly loving person. He was very tortured. I use the word violent because he put a gun in his mouth. And by the way, I'm not a person who, people said, "Are you angry at him?" And I was never angry at him. I was sad. I was heartbroken, like that I couldn't be there for him, that we couldn't, I was never mad. I was like, you were in so much pain that you wanted to leave this world in, such a, in my word, violent way.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Like, it breaks my heart, every day, it doesn't go by. And it happened actually, it happened, soon. So in the calendar time. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know it's like, doing it this way is weird, but
it's fine.
It's what you'd come through with. And I really do. I say I don't believe in an afterlife, and yet, most people I know do, and members of my family do. And I probably deeply want to connect to my brother more than probably any person that's ever died before.
No, it makes complete sense. I mean, the reason why I said you saw a lot of death was because you had a lot of people trying to barge through immediately, but your brother seemed to take precedent over it. And also why I said that too is because, like I said, I'm only 28 and I experienced a lot of death, a lot of suicide too. And that's why immediately, when I saw that, I was just like, I'm not going to air your stuff out, but I'm also going to have it come across in the most sensitive type of way as possible. So that's why I just wanted you to know, like, I would never, not it's really for anyone who I do stuff with on TV or even not, I try to bring it across the most sensitive way possible, but also to get the point across, like at the same time. So that's what I try to do. And I just try to do like stuff in the, like, and especially this, since it's fast, I just wanted to rattle off just
I get it. And honestly, Jonathan, my thought is, I don't know that you need to be as sensitive as you think you do. I mean, it's an honest conversation, as a talk show host. I actually think when you hit home with something and it's true, people, even if it's hard to hear, they can take it because it may be emotionally upsetting, but it's like, wow, it's like you hit to the core of what's true in me. I found that when I would interview people and tell them things, get them to talk about emotional experiences, tragic things in their life, that when I hit it, it's almost like a relief in a way,
100%. And that's something that, like, personally that I have to, I guess, work through. Cause like I wouldn't want someone to straight up say that to me in front of people with like my friends that have done that, or like even worse, like if I had a family member that did that. So I kind of try to just do that. But yes, I do understand. I've been getting a lot of like, people like my reps and stuff being like, dude, like just straight up, just say it. Like, you don't have to be around the bush about it. Like, just like, straight say it. So like, that is something like I am obviously working on with it. Cause
I appreciate the sensitivity comes from a good place. Yeah. I'm just saying, I actually think it's even more powerful and it's honest. Like, it's true. I'm in denial if I don't face the facts of what happened to my brother. Right. Like, it's what happened, and do I can't go back and change it. I wish I could, but
of course,
I think he wishes I think he, we know it was impulsive, we know what happened before that night. We know it was impulsive. And it's like, damn,
of course,
not pulled that trigger. Listen, I could, again, I made this personal. I wanted to experience it, it's an interesting feeling, even not in the same room with you. I have interesting emotional feeling. Having you do that, which again, I could be making up, but I feel something like it's as if, like as if you were in my head for a second.
No, if I was in people's heads, I'd be freaking like running into a brick wall by now, like dealing with people's thoughts that are crazy and stuff.
So wrapping it up, and thank you, by the way.
No problem.
What's a takeaway for people right now, whether they believe in this or don't believe in this? There is something so big and powerful and beautiful beyond. I mean, I often say that even around all the death I've had in my life, all people should believe in an afterlife, given how many people have died in my life.
Correct.
But like, it's like, there's something beautiful in even in death. There's something beautiful in the life we lead past it. And there's something beautiful in the experience we have, right?
Yeah.
Does connecting to this, being a medium, help you see the beauty of this world? And can people take something from that, whether they're believers or not believers? I mean, I think we all need hope right now, right? We all want, You know, it's a
Yeah.
tricky, complicated time in the world.
Yeah, I guess like the biggest thing is just like, from doing this every day, reading all different types of situations, the biggest thing that I take away is that like this life is, as much as like sometimes people think like this pandemic's crazy, I had a shitty day at work or whatever it is, I broke up with my significant other. Like, you need to realize that this life is pretty amazing, because like I can vouch for 90% or 95% of the souls or spirits, energies, angels, whatever anyone calls them, they would much rather be here. And I'm not saying that they're not happy and they're not content, because they 100% are, but like being around your family, being around your friends, being around people, that's something that people really do take for granted. And people take for granted a lot of things. And I'm just telling you from experience and reading, like, yes, this is a really crappy time right now with everything that's going on, but just enjoy that you have a roof over your head, you have food, or just be happy that you're still here. Like, that's the biggest thing.
I love that. We have to do a part 2 on this, Jonathan.
100%.
We
Yeah.
have to do a part 2. Hey, last question. I know we went a little long, but thank you. Last question. Are you straight or gay? Can you say?
I'm straight.
Okay. So girlfriends, parents,
Yeah.
like
I can laugh about this one. Yeah.
Like, I won't, or are they like, go ahead, like,
So it started with an ex-girlfriend who she didn't believe it, and then like I caught her cheating by doing this, and once yeah, and then once I realized that could be a thing, I stopped because I didn't want it. But I met my current girlfriend, she's amazing through this, I guess. She's a very big supporter, and that's something that I want no matter what I do. So that was really cool. But yeah, I've lost friends, I've lost family members from this. And then it's interesting because when this first happened, they stopped speaking to me. When I started doing TV reading, celebrities, LA travel, everyone started to come back into my life. And it's just like the weirdest thing. Like,
right. It's a sad validation, but I get it, But
yeah,
like,
I'm like, what the hell? Like,
now you want back in? Now that I read A-listers, but
right.
But that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's great.
No problem.
Jonathan Mark Medium. What's your social handles are at Jonathan Mark Medium, right?
Yes, super easy. Yep, super easy.
On Instagram, Twitter. I don't know if you're Twitter.
I'm the worst at social media. The only one that I really go on is my Instagram. So I would say just my Instagram.
Follow him on Instagram. You can follow me at Rob Nelson Live. Jonathan, thank you. Definitely want to have you do this again, a part 2.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thank you. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good night.
Bye.